Okay, folks, that's 4 o'clock. There's not many of us here today, which is good for you in that I can basically cover any questions that you would like or any sort of areas in particular that you would like. I'm going to just very quickly just run through how to create a land use map and some very simple GIS stuff you can do with Digimap for schools. Okay. Now, let me just move hopefully you can all see the screen and stuff. I'll just do a bit of housekeeping. To go to webinar software, you're all in. Hopefully you can all hear me. You can do a sound check if you want, if you're having problems, but I'm going to mute the microphone because it just gets a little bit hard to sort of manage if people are asking questions using the microphone. So it's turned off. So if you want to ask questions, you simply use the question box, and Ross has already sort of been good enough to let me know that you can hear me. So any questions now, folks, don't feel afraid to ask anything. I'll cover it and answer it as best I can as I go along here, okay? So I'll get started here, and basically I'm just that's from a different one. So we're going to look at land use maps in Digimap for schools. Now they're very, very simple and straightforward to do. This is just an example of one that I pulled off. I think this was a year 8 or something doing a bit of land use mapping in, I think it was Southampton actually, that I just pulled off as an example, and how nice it looks and how easy it is to sort of put together, but how effective it is as a visual map. Now this is when it's printed out. This is a JPEG that I just dropped into PowerPoint. So fairly straightforward and easy to do. Here's another one to do, and this is Centre of Milton Keynes. I've done this one, and the reason I've done this one is because it's quite easy to draw, because Milton Keynes is kind of like the American grid system, so everything's nice and square. So it just made it quicker to do, and basically, yeah, I've just dropped on a map key here and a couple of images just to add a little bit of context. And your data presentation, I think with the NEA and GCSE stuff, it's this is one of the important things, is doing your data presentation and sort of putting information onto your maps. Okay, so doing a land use map. Let me just go into Digimap for schools here. We should be logged in. So let me just start again. Okay, so this is basically what you get when you arrive in Digimap for schools. So fairly, the interface hopefully you're all used to. That's no problem at all. Sorry, somebody's just trying to dial in here for some reason, which is a bit strange because I'll not be able to see anything. So, for instance, we'll just do a very quick land use map of Milton Keynes. Now, this is only an example. Obviously, you can, what you want your land use maps to be, but just to show you the process really of doing it. Okay, so here we go. So let me just increase the size of this screen, folks. If I'm going too fast, I know there's a lag time between the map and what you see, so I'll try to be as slow and concise as I possibly can be. Okay, so here I'm just going to expand. This is your make the map bigger button, so we can make that nice and big. Okay, so very roughly what I'm going to do is use this annotation toolbar in the top left hand side here. Okay, and if I just click on this here, okay, you can see across the top here there's loads of things you can do, like add text to it, add markers and labels in here. You can draw lines, you can draw areas, you can shapes, add photographs, and add buffer tools, and you can add measurement labels as well. Okay, so nice and simple and straightforward. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is very quickly just draw some shapes around. So we'll start off with some red here. I'll just do a red as well, and I'll mark out. So if I click on this here, the draw an area. Now you'll know that when it's white, it's active. Okay, so you can start drawing now. So if I just click on once to start, okay, once to change direction, and just keep changing direction as and when you need, and pull it across here, you can mark it out very simply Okay, so I'll do another one. I'm trying to think what other colors I've used. Maybe a green. We'll do another green here, and we'll draw out. We have to activate it again, and we'll draw out another one here. So we draw this here like this, and then simply double click to finish. We'll do a couple more because we need to do a map key of this sort of stuff. So this, say for instance, is civic buildings up here. These are offices. I'm not altogether sure what they are. Oh, here's civic buildings down here. We can do another one for here. So we'll just do a nice mauve or purple. We'll do purple. Okay, and we'll draw around here. Okay, I'll do a couple more very quickly. What colour will we do then? We'd probably better do a blue one somewhere. A bit of blue. We'll draw around here. I'm trying to think what the other colour is. Let me just check. I've prepared leisure offices, civic buildings, leisure. Okay, we'll do another purple. So we'll do a deeper purple here. Okay, and this will be maybe the last one. Okay, we'll do that, and we'll just do this one as well, the same color. Okay, so I've done that now. These two colors look the same, so what I'm going to do is just very quickly change this here to a different color. I did that by using the select feature here. So if I want to select something and change it, I use these yellow highlighters. Okay, so I've now selected it and it's gone yellow on the outside, and we're just going to change the color to we'll do a grey, I suppose, a dusty grey. It's not going to match up exactly with my map key, but you can imagine it. Okay, so there's your very simple and straightforward. I need to deactivate that. Very simple and straightforward land use map. Now we can start adding things to this here. One of the things we want to add is a map key. Okay, so you can do it in two ways. Now the first way is a very rough and ready way of doing it, and it's not the neatest, but it's simple and easy to do from inside Digimap for Schools. Okay, so what you want to do is basically draw a couple of simple squares. So you can do a square here, and we'll leave that as the same color. We can do another one in another square in the lime green. Green here, and just draw it here. So you're very roughly getting the same color, and you can use this move feature here to pull it down in here underneath, and again you can do it a nice little red one, but we change the color of that to red. There's no copy and paste function in here in case you're wondering, so that's why I'm not copying and pasting. So you can do it like this here, and then you can start adding some text to it. So for instance, we can call this one hotels. Add that in there. Okay, so that's there. Add another one, offices. Add that there. Move it down. Now, what I really should have done, as you can imagine, is I'll just do the last one. What's that? Arts buildings, civic buildings. Add that there. Okay. So this is very rough and ready. Again, they're all quite big, so I could possibly highlight them or highlight them individually, bring the size down to maybe 24. again, selecting this one. Oh, not sure why that's happening. Oh, add. Select this, and we can just change the color into 24 again. Add. Bring it into 22 or up to 24. There we go. Oh. And 24. So you get the idea of how you can do this here. I should really have actually drawn a white square in the background. Just done it pure white. Pure white. Okay. So you get, and the transparency again is, I should have that as 100%, as 0. So it's plain white, and then I can select all these. And move them all in like this here. But that's a little bit of a convoluted way of doing it, okay? So I'm just going to actually, so you get the impression of how you can build this, the map key using that there, but I don't want to do that. I actually have another way of doing it, which doesn't involve Digimap for schools, but I think is a much neater and quicker way, and it's using PowerPoint. So I think every school at this stage has PowerPoint, okay? So if I flick across the PowerPoint here, and if I just go down to here, now this is very simple to do, basically using shapes. So I can do a little rectangle here, like this, change the color of it to red, like that. I can copy and paste it here 5 times and very quickly bring it together like this. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing it very rough and ready here. And then I can add some text in here. So we'll call this retail. Okay, it's a little bit big, but it's okay. And we can change the colors here to blue. This one to purple. This one to green. And this one to pink. Okay, and again we can just do a control copy, control V, 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 and control V. Pull this together very quickly like this. Yeah. Okay. So you get the idea of how this comes together, and then what you can do is very simply group them all. So group them like this here as one, and then I've done the one above here. I just put another square around it, and then once you've done that, you can simply go to the outline of it, right click it, and save it as a picture. Okay. So I've already done one here, which is a map key. And I can save it as a JPEG, and I can just save it onto my desktop. Then go back to Digimap for Schools and add a picture. Okay, so if I add the photo on here, I can choose this here, and I can put up the map key or the picture that I've just done. So open that up and upload it in here. So you've got your map key on your map. Okay, so that, I think that just looks a lot tidier than trying to do it manually. Okay, so you can also scale this by clicking on this button on the top right hand side here, and you can actually increase the size of your map key. Okay, so all the things you can do with this map are you can add some photographs on here, so add a little bit of context. I'll have to find where my, let me just check and see, land use webinar. So I can add just some pictures in here as well. So you can see very quickly, you can build up a nice picture with all the different types of land use with some images and stuff on there. So it's nice and simple to do. Now, once you've done that, if you were looking to print this out, for instance, for your GCSE NEF, you just simply go to here and you print it as a PDF or a JPEG in portrait or landscape. So let's have a look. Now, you can actually print, rather than just simply ordnance survey, you can have a nice mix of aerial imagery. So you can do it with the aerial imagery here, or a nice mix of both, like this. So you get the aerial imagery with the ordnance survey mapping through it. You could also even bring it across the 1890s and show that none of this was here in the 1890s or the 1950s. So they're just really nice, simple ways of doing your land use map. So I'm just gonna, you can put a title on it and your name and simply print it out. Okay, let's see, where did it go? Okay, should take a second. Okay, so I'll just pull it across, and there's your land use map created. I need to just fiddle around ever so slightly with it, but you can see how quick and easy that is to do, folks, right? If there's any questions, do let me know, okay? So that's all I'm really going to show you on land use. If there's anything else you want to know about doing land use maps, please just shout out now, because I'm just going to move on to do some very basic GIS stuff. But you can ask me now or towards the end, and I can double back on it if need be. Okay. So the basic GIS that we have in Digimap for Schools is to do with point files and buffers, essentially. So essentially a point file for Digimap for Schools is a little CSV file or an Excel file that you save as a .csv. Okay, now I've clicked on this help button here simply because I want to show you the different point files that you can use. Okay, and it's called add points from a file here. Okay, so hopefully this video doesn't start off. Okay, so the first thing you should know is that the point file contains the location plus a label. Okay, so with Digimap for Schools, you can use postcode, eastings and northings, longitude and latitude, or grid reference as your location. Okay. Now with Digimap for Schools, the second column should be label. Now it's very important that you stick to the headings here of postcode and label, eastings, northings, label, longitude. Anything else and it won't work. So it has to be, only the labels have to be correct, right? So once you've done that, you basically save it as a .csv file. So I'm going to show you one here in Excel. Okay, so this spreadsheet here is very simple. Hopefully you can see it. Oh, I'll just make it slightly smaller. Okay, so this essentially is a school where I think it's the whole year. Let's just check. So say the whole year has basically entered in their home postcode, and the label is A, B, or C. Now, I'm not sure what I get, I'm not exactly sure what A, B, it might be the class. So class A, class B, class C. So all you do is you simply save that there and save it in here. And I'll save it on my desktop, and it's called $postcode. You can see it there, but I'll save it again. And very simply done. Now, once you go back to Digimap for Schools, I'm just going to clear all this, folks. Okay. Now, once you go to Digimap for Schools, you go to the annotation tools again. You click on it. And in this box here, in the symbols, there is a add points from a CSV file. Folks, we're fully aware that this seems a little hidden away. There's a reason for it in that we're struggling for screen space, so we've put it there for the time being, but that's going to change in the not too distant future to somewhere a bit more obvious. So in here, you click on add points from a CSV file, and you just choose your file. Okay, so if we click on here and we click on open, you simply click on upload. Okay, and you can see all the point files. Now this could be, folks, sorry, I just seem to have a little bit of a problem there with the internet for some reason. So this could be, it doesn't have to be school postcodes. If you're on a field study, you could take the location of, where you're doing maybe a street survey, etc. And as I said before, it doesn't have to be postcodes. It could be your OS grid reference. And if you're out and you wanted to find that out after you've done the surveys, you can use this little information tool and click here and get, for instance, your ordnance survey grid references and use that in your spreadsheet. Okay, but that's by the by. So this is basically all the pupils who go to year 8, for instance, at Dollar Academy. Okay, so if we go then and have a look in here, and we can do very simple things like use this buffer tool. Okay, and we can maybe draw 0.5 kilometers as our first buffer and put it on here. Okay, oh, I've got it all in white. Let me just change that there. And we'll do that in, I'll have to select it. We'll do that as a nice little blue and blue. We'll do it as 100% or 50%. Okay. So that's within 0.5. We can then go and we can do it as 1. And let's just change the color to a different, or amber. And we can click back on the school here. And you start getting an idea of how you can start using these simple GIS tools. So you can see how many pupils maybe live outside 1 kilometer for the school. Okay, so that's a very, very simple example of GIS. So we don't want to complicate it too much. We like to sort of, make it not too difficult for the pupils. Ross has just asked me a quick question here. Oh, sphere of influence study. Yeah, that's exactly, the stuff we're looking at here. So, folks, just something I came up with just before I started this here was something to do with crime stats. Okay, so I'm going to show you this here. So I went to, where did I go to? data.police.gov. Okay, and I looked for the Greater Manchester Police stats, and it's just for February 2018. And I just click on generate file, and I'm going to download it here. Okay, and this is just to show you how simply, where's it gone? Folks, I'm operating on a number of screens, so it just went on to a different screen. This isn't, so this is, no, that's not right. Sorry. Okay. I need to just close this one because I've worked on it. Where's it gone? Where are my downloads? Okay. So it should be opening up. There we go. Right, so here is a massive data set. Now, as I said before, Digimap for schools has to have, it has to be location and label. In this instance, there's lots of stuff here we don't need. So we don't need crime, month, report, falls within. We do need longitude and latitude, so we're going to delete them. We don't need the location, so we're going to delete that. We don't need the code, we'll delete that. And then we don't need that. So just the crime type and delete. Okay, so I'm just going to do, say for instance, 50 of them, right? So what I'm going to do is just quickly go down to the very bottom and delete them because there's too many here. There's 29,000 crimes or there or thereabouts. Click on that there and delete them. Okay, so one thing I need to say to you is the label value in Digimap for schools is only 15 characters long. Now we're going to extend that out maybe, but for the time being, because we don't want it to take up too much screen real estate, it's limited to 15. So you'll notice the likes of violent and sexual offences. We can do something very simple like this here. We can do a control and we could do a file and what is it? Edit, find, replace. And we can find what? This here, and we'll just call it violence. and we can do replace all. Oh, okay, I'm not sure, that's not quite working, but anyway. So you can go through and do that there, but what we need to do is longitude and latitude. And if we call crime type, remember in Digimap for schools, we need to just, we don't want to do that there. So if we go to crime type and we call it label, okay, and we save that as crime Manchester, we can do this here. And then if we go back to Digimap for schools and we do our start again here, and again we go back and we add our marker, our point file, and we're going to choose, where did I save it? Let me just double check. Did I do it to the desktop? I don't think I did. Save that there. And then go back to Digimap for schools, crime Manchester, open that there and upload it. Okay. Okay, so here you can see that the crimes have sort of come in onto the map, and the map will show up now in a second. So you can start having a look at all the different crimes that are around, or you could even do things like network's a little bit slow for me at the minute. I don't know this area at all, but you could start maybe going to do buffer tools here, and you can start doing, find the local police stations and maybe start doing little spheres of influence around to see if there's a correlation between the crimes and their distances away from police stations. Okay, so just some very simple ideas on on how to use maybe a little bit of simple GIS with Digimap for schools. It's quite powerful, and it's not very complex to do, which is the important thing. A lot of people find GIS a fairly intimidating prospect, but it's quite straightforward and easy to do this level of GIS. Now, folks, if there's any questions, I wasn't going to show you any more than that today. Anne's asking me, can I change the color? Yes, and you can do that, but it's a manual. So Anne wants to know if you can change the color of the dots to show the different types of crime. Yes, you can do that, but unfortunately, at the minute, it has to be done manually. Okay, so you can select, for instance, the red dots here and change them to black. Okay, like this here. Now we're working on expanding out the CSV upload so that you can add a little bit more complexity to it. We didn't want to do too much at the start so that people got a little bit frightened of the complexity, but at the moment this is fairly straightforward what you can do. We're looking at maybe allowing the changing of colors and also maybe the label field to be increased slightly as well, so that you can add more information to it. But at the minute, you can plot your location and do a little bit of manual sort of manipulation of the points themselves. Okay. Now, folks, is there anything else you want to ask me at the moment? I'm just going to show you where some of this stuff is. So in the help, you can find out all this information if you're going along. Just hit the help button, and you can find this pop-up appears, and all the information on how to do the point files is here. Okay. It's very simple. It's just remember you need your headings to be the same, and once they're the same, it'll be imported. No problem. There's no complexity or worry there. Okay. So what Ross wants to know, what does the buffer line look like, and what would that be used for? Okay, so the buffer line is, it's like a buffer. A point draws a circle around a point. So the line buffer is slightly different in that you draw the line. Okay, so for instance, if you were talking about, we'll go back to the 1950s here just to have a look. Okay. So what we can do is we can draw a point file. Say, for instance, you were developing a new motorway and you planned it out and you had to draw the route, and basically beside a new motorway, maybe you can't have anything within 300 meters of it. So you can draw your line here. This is where a new motorway is going to be created. Double click and you can see, you can see the area that's affected. Now that's quite good. It also for the likes of rivers. So if a river was to overflow, what would be affected if it went from up to 0.5 meters? And if you just draw over the same route again, you can do this here. I'll actually have a nice example to show you very quickly. So you can start building it up there very, very neatly. I'm just going to show you one very quickly, Ross, to do with, let me just, Hillsborough and Norfolk. Actually, do you know what? I'm running over time here, so I'll just go coastal erosion and open this here up. Okay, so folks, this is a map of Hillsborough and Norfolk, okay? And the three lines here are, the red one is the present day shoreline, the blue one is the 1950 shoreline, and the purple one is the 1890 shoreline. So you can see here, I just basically drew a line across and then I measured the distance. So you can see here that the distance is 228.97. So just to put it in context of what that means, you can very quickly draw a buffer line along here of 0.228 kilometers, and if you draw that along the line here, so if coastal erosion continues at the same rate as it has since the 1890s, so what's that, 130 years, 120 years, what will it be in 2138? Okay, if you draw that on there, you can have a look and see what could potentially be affected in the next 120 years. So you can start having a look and seeing that, you know, all these houses here are likely to go. So it's just an example, okay? So, anything else, folks? Did that cover what you wanted? Hopefully. Okay, folks. Well, you know, you're free to go as and when you please. If there's anything else you want to ask, I'll be hanging around for another few minutes. So ask away. And listen, if you could do us a favour, and maybe, you know, if you know any other teachers who don't use Digimap for schools, or you think this is a worthwhile product or service, do us a favour and tell some people about it. We're trying to build up our numbers of schools that use it. So let people know if you think it's a nice little worthwhile service. So I'll leave this open for the next couple of minutes, and then if there's no questions, I'll close it and you're all free to go. Oh, I should say, folks, I've recorded this, so I'll throw it up on YouTube so that you can come back and have a look at it if I ran over anything too quickly, okay? Right, okay. So, Ross, I'm not sure. The only question to ask is the ability of this software to map new postcodes. Now, our postcodes come from a gazetteer that's updated every couple of months. So the new postcode should be in. I don't know if you've any examples. Expansion of a commerce line. Let me have a look. Now, Ross, just to draw your attention to something quickly, if I go to the place that you're looking at, see if I can find it. Okay, so I'm not sure what the postcodes are around here. We don't have a postcode finder in the we don't have a postcode finder in any of our tools here. But I think we'll be okay dealing with new postcodes. Okay, but something that might be worthwhile in having a look at here is if you're looking at the expansion of Cambridge-Line, and I don't know where that is actually, but have a look. You can do something very neat with the software here, especially with the historic stuff. Okay, so I'm going to do this very roughly, but you can do it yourself and have a look. Okay, so there's an area tool here. You can draw straight lines or little free-form shapes. So what I'm going to do is basically draw a very slight, that's basically all the houses and stuff you can see around Cambridge, right, in the 1950s. And you can add a little measurement on there. So it's 0.2. We can then go to the 1950s. And let's just change the color to an amber or something like that there. And I don't know but what you can do, but you can very roughly draw. I don't know where the outline is around here, but you can have a look. That's right. What do you reckon in around there? That's roughly it. So you can do that like that there. So that's gone from 0.2 in the 1890s to 0.28, and if we go now to the present day, you can see the expansion. So I don't know how we would draw around this here, but this color here, and you can start marking it around like this here to get a rough idea of how much it's expanded in the last, and then you can add a little measurement tool on there as well. So that's a good way of showing the expansion of these places, like using our historical mapping as well. But in regards to the postcodes, probably the best thing to do, Ross, would actually be create an Excel spreadsheet of the postcodes that he has and drop them in as point files, and then you'd be able to see if they all appear. Would be my advice for the time being. Oh, no problem at all. Yeah. So hopefully that's of some use to you, and you get something worthwhile out of it. Good man. Right. Well, listen. I think everybody else has disappeared off, and I'll close it up if that's all right. And right, and hopefully you'll come to some of the other webinars. Or if you have any ideas on other webinars, email us in and we'll do them. Trying to save cater for as many of our users as we can. Right. Take it easy and have a good evening.